Hey guys, welcome back to Andy's Dinosaur Reviews, and today we have the second half of the newest Eofauna releases, as we have a prehistoric mammal here to take a look at, which is very exciting because I can never get enough prehistoric mammals in my life. And today we have the Konobelodon. And it looks beautiful, just like I expected. Eofauna is incredible when it comes to their prehistoric mammals. They do have quite a few of them out now, and every single one has been nothing short of a masterpiece, if you ask me. And that is exactly the same case with what I'm seeing here on the Konobelodon. The sculpt is incredibly well done, as per usual, and I feel like Eofauna is probably becoming one of the top companies when it comes to providing us with really nice, really realistic paint jobs on their figures. Like, they've always been so good, but I feel like they just don't release enough figures to really iron in the fact that their paint jobs are some of the best out there. But I feel like, again, now we're probably, I don't even know how many figures in, like 7, 8, maybe even more than that. And everyone has had a fantastic paint job, if you ask me. So I think at this point, people are probably going to start to take note to the fact that Eofauna really does deliver when it comes to both the sculpt and paint aspect. But paint specifically, again, it's probably one of the best companies out there when it comes to applying really nice naturalistic and realistic paint jobs to their figures. And again, this particular figure here looks great, except I will say that my tusks here on mine are kind of warped. They were actually worse than this when it first had arrived, and I keep kind of trying to push them back into place, but they're just slowly going back. I haven't done the warm water, cold water trick quite yet, which I'll probably do. I'm sure that'll, sort this situation out, because it's just the tusks, and with tusks as long as this, you kind of expect that, so it's not too shocking that it's kind of warped like that. But again, outside of the warping of the tusks, it is a beautiful, beautiful figure, and like you usually get when it comes to the Eofauna releases, let's see if I can get this off of the leg right here, potentially. I don't really want to untie it all, because it's kind of, oh well, we'll just leave it on there for now. But you can see that we have the really cool card that's included. If that tag there would get out of my way, oh man, is it ever giving me a problem. So you can see the really cool kind of card that's included, with some fantastic imagery there of a Konobelodon, as well as some very interesting stats. And then the back sports a nice Eofauna logo as usual. And then you also have this little kind of like a small booklet. If I can figure out which way we need to go. Oh, I knocked him over completely. So it's a little hard to do this without actually removing it, but you can see the inside has some really nice information and everything on the Konobelodon and Eofauna. A little hard to, look at that without taking it off the leg, but it's really knotted on there right now. It's not like when I was reviewing their Diplodocus, it just kind of fell off on its own, whereas these ones are really knotted and stuck on there. But again, the figure looks gorgeous, so let's go ahead and jump straight to a closer look at it right now. So starting up here at the head sculpt, you can really see how nice the skin texture is. When I say it's highly detailed, that is definitely no joke. There is a lot of really nice, really fine detailing to the head sculpt of this animal. And you can see again, all of the skin detail is also really nicely shown. Like, you could see like very slight wrinkling and stuff to the skin right there when it comes to the opening of the mouth and everything, showing off that movement beautifully. You can see the inside of the mouth sports a really nice tongue. You can also see we have a nice gloss coat in there, and some beautiful paintwork with a nice variation of pink, as well as a dark wash, and the figure as a whole has a very realistic look because of the dark wash they've applied to it. Another thing that I really love about the Eofauna line is the fact that they continuously include really nice dark washes. You can see the majority of the figure is a grayish tone, but there are also alternate tones of gray included, like you can see some darker and lighter shades, and there's also some really cool, sometimes very subtle areas of pink showing up. You can see that right here in the cheek. You can actually see it all over the place, even running down here on the lower jaw. You can see it up there in the ear. So some beautiful paintwork. It even runs down here in the throat region. So really giving, again, a very realistic, lifelike appearance with quite a bit of different coloration. And speaking of the ear, you can see the ear is really nicely done detail-wise as well. You can see it kind of wiggling and flapping right there. Really nice movement and kind of like wrinkling and everything shown in the ear as well. And as you move up here, you can see the eye is painted with a yellow, giving a nice black pupil. Very nice, very small eye with some very precise paintwork. As you lead out the length of the trunk, you can see lots of creasing and wrinkling in the skin there as well, because of course the trunk is coming out and then coming up and then curving again. So there's quite a bit of movement shown in the trunk of the Konobelodon, and that is beautifully shown off here in the sculpt when it comes to all the wrinkling of the skin. You can see again variations of grays, pinks, as well as the dark wash, and then you can see the actual trunk itself right here as you lead up to the front. You can see that the nostrils are very nicely highlighted with a darker coloration. Of course, we again have the tusks of our Konobelodon, which keep trying to warp back, but they are very nicely painted with a white, and then we have a very cool dry brushing to them, which gives them an incredibly dirty-like appearance, and I really like that because, again, that's kind of what you would expect to see. Like if you go ahead and take a look at some modern-day elephants and stuff, you would see, again, that dirty-like appearance on their tusks, so adding a really nice element of realism to the model. You can also see the ear over here. Again, looks pretty much just as beautiful as it did on the initial side. You could see all of the skin texture and skin detail looks incredible here. Again, the really nice subtle changes of color when it comes to like the pinks and grays, and then it's all really beautifully tied together with that dark wash. As you move back up here to the top of the animal, you can see some nice detailing here on the top of the head leading into the neck. You can see again that they've also kind of like dry brushed some areas out with kind of a lighter variation of color. You can really see it right there in the back of the neck, and because of that dry brushing, it really highlights the kind of wrinkles right there in the back of the neck as well. Leading a little further back into the body, you pick up on the shoulder blade right there, and then as you lead down into the leg, you can see the leg is very nicely tensed because the animal's opposing leg is lifting up off of the ground, so it would be pretty much supporting the entire front half of the animal here on this leg, and that is very nicely shown in the sculpt. Very stiff appearance to that leg because, again, it's really using quite a bit of muscle to hold itself up as it walks along. The nails are also sculpted very nicely, painted very nicely as well, as we have like a nice light brown. Almost appears as though we kind of have like variation of light brown, maybe even 2 tones of light brown included right there. And again, the dark wash really highlighting the detail as you move through the course of the figure. You've got some more really nice skin wrinkles right there, right around the elbow area. And then you can see more skin kind of stretching and reacting to the movement of the body right there. As you lead up here into the side, you continue to see, again, phenomenal looking skin texture. This thing is really, really nicely done when it comes to the skin texture. You've also got the spinal column here kind of running along the back of the animal. You can definitely see some pretty significant girth to the body as well. So it's definitely really, really well fed. You can see that for sure. As you move back here, you've got the hip bone present. You can see how nice the skin looks when it comes to the movement of the leg. Again, the stretching of the leg as that leg is trailing. You can see it's taking a step. The skin is stretching very nicely with that area. You can also see that on the underside we have the genitalia, and then we also have, again, another variation of that pinkish tone, but it also mixes really nicely with that dark wash here on the underside. Incredibly realistic paint application for this figure. And then as you move up here, you can see lots of skin wrinkles back here around the rear of the animal, the tail as well running down. And then we have, again, that little area of fur there at the end of the tail, painted very nicely with a black. And then as you move over here, you can definitely see some pretty significant difference as far as the positioning of the body on this side compared to the initial side. As you can see, the animal's taking a step with the front leg over here and also taking a step with the rear leg, so obviously walking along. You've got kind of almost like a look of saggy skin here, something you definitely see on modern-day elephants a lot, so something I would imagine you'd probably see on a Konobelodon. You can also kind of get a good idea of the bone structure there as the animal walks along. Nice curve there in the wrist, and then again you have that beautiful foot sculpt, really nicely painted nails. Same deal back here, lots of skin wrinkles, skin movement, and everything shown. Again, showing off the movement of the animal perfectly. A really nice foot sculpt back here as well. So this is a phenomenal Konobelodon. If I could just get the tusks here to just chill and sit in the right position, which I, again, will have to do the hot water, cold water trick here in a little bit, but the figure as a whole is easily the best version of a Konobelodon I've ever seen, and that's something that Eofauna does quite often. They deliver a beautiful model that ends up being the best of pretty much each animal that you get in your collection, and this is definitely another perfect case of that. As far as a size goes, we'll go from the tusk there to the tail. You're looking at a little bit over 8¼ inches, almost 8½ inches actually, or about 21, closing in at 21½ centimeters. And then for a height, the top of the head would be the highest point, about 3¾ inches, or approaching 10 centimeters, maybe a little bit under that area. For a size comparison, there is Mr. Papo T-Rex, the Attack Pack Colovosaurus, and Robert Muldoon from the Mattel Jurassic World toy line in comparison to our Eofauna Konobelodon, and you can definitely see again that it sports a pretty good size, but it's not overly large. Probably one of the smaller prehistoric mammals I would say that we've had from Eofauna so far, but still, I would say probably a perfect size for this species. We also have a look here at the Konobelodon next to the Diplodocus that has just released from Eofauna, showing you that, of course, the Diplodocus is way longer, but the animal here, the Konobelodon, definitely has a good bit more body to him, I guess, than the Diplodocus, but obviously there's no real comparison when it comes to his size here. We also have the Konobelodon next to the Eofauna Atlasaurus, which I don't believe has any chance of losing its crown as far as being the tallest Eofauna figure that they've released, but again, hopefully helping to give you a good idea of the size. And then for one more comparison, we have the Eofauna Step Mammoth here next to our Konobelodon, and giving you a pretty good idea, I think, of the size. The Step Mammoth was one of their more popular figures, I think, so I thought that one, of course, being a prehistoric mammal as well, but I figured that one would be a good one to bring in for a comparison. Unfortunately, I'm not quite sure where I put the other prehistoric mammals from Eofauna. I'm kind of looking around here trying to find them, but I don't know where I put them. They're lost in this collection somewhere. That's one of the biggest problems with having a collection so large, is sometimes you kind of lose track of things, but again, if I happen to stumble upon them, I'll post size comparisons on my Instagram account for those as well. So this brand new 2022 Eofauna Konobelodon is another fantastic release from them and another beautiful prehistoric mammal entering our collections. And there's a very good chance, in my opinion, that this is the best prehistoric mammal that they've released yet, and they continue to improve time after time with every release, but I really feel like they are coming into their own big time nowadays when it comes to the sculpts and paint of their figures. Again, I was stating earlier that I feel like their paint jobs are some of the best out there, and they just seem to be getting better and better with the last few releases, and this one here is a really good example of just how nice and how realistic their paint jobs currently look, because this Konobelodon looks about as lifelike as it gets, and it also looks pretty much perfect as far as the coloration I would expect it to have. So they have done a fantastic job on giving this a really, really realistic looking paint job with quite a bit of different color variation, but still remaining that kind of grayish tone that you would probably expect it to have. But on top of that, again, the sculpt is overloaded with fine details, showing off movement in the skin beautifully, the bone structure of the animal, just everything on this is as highly detailed as it gets, and again, perfectly sculpted and presented here in model form. And then, of course, we have a pretty good size for it as well, although I will say it's probably one of the smallest prehistoric mammals that they've released. It's still a really nice, really impressive size. Definitely a size that allows the figure to really stand out in pretty much any collection. And of course, the realism aspect of the model overall will definitely help to do that as well. But as a whole, this is another fantastic release. I would say I might like this as much or almost as much, actually, I would say, as the Diplodocus. Like, I really, really love that Diplodocus they released, but this one is a very, very close second. So if you are interested in picking this up, I will include a link in the description to where you can do that on Dan's Dinosaurs, because that is where I purchased mine. So make sure you check that link out. Make sure you head on over there, buy yourself this beautiful Konobelodon from Eofauna, and make sure you also like, comment, and subscribe, and I will see you in the next review. Thanks for watching.